Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel if you are new here. If you're new here, my name is Angel. Thank you so much for joining us today. And if you're not new here, thank you so much for coming back. So we finished our last series on a cliffhanger that will never be unhanged, unfortunately. So now I need to find a new series to read. I did have a comment on a previous video about possibly reading Unchained, a Colby Brock fan fiction. So I'm going to look into that one. As for today, we're going to test the waters with something, see what you think, see how you like it, and then we'll go from there. Chapter 1. Riley and I sang along to our favorite songs in the car. As we headed to this party, I had a weird feeling in my stomach and tried my best to keep pushing it down as far as it would go. Something didn't feel right, but I figured it was just my social anxiety talking, and I wasn't going to listen to it tonight. Tonight was going to be fun, and nothing was going to ruin it. He had been working on his social media platforms over the past year and finally started to gain some traction within the last couple of months. He had been able to make some really good connections with a few streamers and a really big network on the streaming platform. Riley mainly streamed his gameplay, but sometimes would do challenges or charity streams. This ended up catching the attention of a couple of streamers that we would watch a lot, which was really exciting. They invited him and me to a party in Texas. As much as I didn't want to go, I knew it would be beneficial for both of us to go. I felt like we were in a rough patch lately. Everything little turned into a big fight where we wouldn't talk to each other for days. I felt like I was just sleeping in the same bed as a roommate lately. I was hoping that maybe tonight would be a fun night that could bring us back together. But at this point, I don't even know if that's what I wanted anymore. I loved Riley with all of my heart, but we had been looking at engagement rings lately, and it made me realize that I wasn't sure if I still trusted him or even wanted to be with him. As we drove up to this giant house, I still had a weird feeling in my stomach, but I didn't say anything to Riley about it. I knew if I did, that would start a fight, and we didn't need that tonight. Big crowds were my worst nightmare, and here we are, going to one of the biggest parties of the year for streamers. Why did I agree to do this? I mean, I know this is going to be an amazing networking opportunity for Riley, but I really wish I just would have stayed at the hotel, or just not come out all the way to Texas at all. It's not like I can just leave and go home whenever I want. We were over 500 miles away from home. Riley pulled up to the front and found a parking spot pretty close to the house, which made me nervous knowing this was a rental car and there were plenty of drunk people walking around. Who knows what kind of people are waiting outside to see their favorite streamers. I already had really bad passenger side princess anxiety, and a bunch of cars parked so closely together was not helping. It's not like this was a gated community or a place with security cameras. We hopped out of the car and I grabbed my purse from the back seat. I propped it up on the trunk, double checking that my anxiety meds were in there just in case I needed them. Hopefully a drink might help me feel better. While walking up to the front door, I noticed they had a few security guards there, so that put my mind slightly at ease. At least I knew if anything happened, there would be someone nearby to handle things. I shook my head, trying not to psych myself out of going into the party. We were already here, I couldn't just back out now. I put on my best fake smile and walked up to the security guard, arm intertwined with Riley's as he gave him our names. And off to the party we were. We walked in and I looked around at the place. It was giant. There was a huge staircase off the side of the entryway that led upstairs, and the living room was bigger than any house I'd ever lived in. "Dude, you made it," I heard a voice yell, obviously talking to Riley. They did a little fist bump bro hug, and after that I was left on my own to make my own friends, I guess. I stood in the entryway, my arms crossed awkwardly as I was so uncomfortable and left alone with people I didn't know. A couple of the girls had reached out to me to see if I was coming and tried to make me feel like a part of their group, but all of the girls here looked the same, and I mean that in the best way possible. Every single girl here was gorgeous, confident, and everything I wished I was. Towards the middle of the living room, I noticed Elena, the girlfriend of one of the streamers Riley watched. She was the only reason I watched that stream with Riley. She had reached out to see if I was going to be coming to the party so she could introduce me to people, and that way I would have a friend here. We made eye contact and I smiled and waved at her. She waved back and started walking over to me. "Brooke, you're here," she said excitedly and pulled me in for a hug. "How was the flight?" I hugged her back. "It wasn't bad. We just got in a couple of hours ago, so I'm exhausted already," I said with a light laugh. "Oh, girl, you better wake up. This night is just getting started," she said. "The kitchen is just past the living room. Go grab a drink and then come find me so I can introduce you to everyone. I'll be right over there." She pointed back to the group she was talking to earlier, and they all waved at me. I smiled at her. "Okay, I will." I made my way past the staircase and the entryway to try to find the kitchen. Surely they had plenty to drink here, and I knew a drink would help kick at least some of the anxiety I was feeling. "You look like you need a drink." I recognized that voice and that face. Matt King. a streamer that Riley would watch that I could not stand. I would literally turn the TV off if he would put it on while I was in the room. He was loud, obnoxious, did literally anything for views, and he needed his eyebrows done. I told Riley that if he ever got the chance to talk to him, tell him I will pay him to let me do his eyebrows. How did I not think he would be here? Regardless of my feelings towards him, I did need a drink. You know me too well for not knowing me at all, I smiled politely at him. He knew where the drinks were, meaning I had to play nice to get one. He led me to the kitchen filled with any kind of alcohol you could imagine. I really didn't drink that much, but I was not going to survive tonight without a couple. Not a healthy coping style. Trust me, I'm well aware. Take your pick. He motioned towards the endless bottles of alcohol that consumed all of the counters, tables, and fridge in this massive kitchen. I grabbed the nearest hard cider and called it good. I clinked my bottle with Matt's drink to cheers to the night. So, are you here with someone? He asked, taking a sip of his drink. Yeah, I'm here with Riley Garrett. He's another streamer on the platform. I couldn't tell you his gamer tag if my life depended on it, I responded, laughing, pointing in the direction of my boyfriend. He was standing in a group of guys, clearly already finding his people. I noticed a slight look of disappointment on his face as he looked over on where I was pointing and quickly changed back to his normal expression. Oh, Riley, yeah, I've seen his streams. He looked back at me. And you're a content creator, right? On YouTube? My eyes widened. He knows who I am? Holy shit, he's a huge streamer. I'm pretty sure he owns a network that's attached to the streaming platform. He's probably in the top 5 streamers on the platform. Why would he watch my teeny tiny channel? Oh my gosh, yeah. How the hell did you know that? My content is nowhere near anything I thought you would watch. I laughed slightly nervously. You're on Riley's stream sometimes, so I did a little digging and found your channel. And for the record, I may stream crazy stuff, but as a fellow content creator, you should know by now that no one watches the genre that they create in, he said playfully. I giggled. Okay, yeah, you're right. Wow, that's crazy. Watch my stuff. I'm so embarrassed now. I was hoping no one would know who I was. Why the hell are you embarrassed? He looked at me and laughed. You do realize everyone here is cringy, right? He placed his arm on my shoulders and turned my attention toward the mass of people in the living room. See that guy over there? He pours ketchup on his head anytime someone subs to his channel. He turned me towards the backyard, which was gorgeous from what I could see. And that girl, she does hot tub streams. He looked back at me, hands on my shoulders. So you are the least cringy one here, I promise. Now I feel bad for thinking this guy was a total tool. I guess he's right. Everyone does things for views, but at least I make informative yet entertaining content. At least I like to think so. But I've done my fair share of cringy content to gain a following. You gotta do what you gotta do, right? I guess I can't be one to judge. All right, if you say so. I tried changing the subject as fast as I could. I hated talking about myself, especially when it came to creating content. This house is absolutely amazing. It's huge. He smiled at me. Thanks. My jaw dropped. This is your house? I couldn't believe it. He was my age. We were born the same year, and this house was at least 10 times the size of our small apartment back home in Bloomington. The fact that he made enough money to afford something like this was insane. Sure is. Want a tour? He said and nudged my arm playfully. Just as I was about to play along and say yes, we were interrupted by a guy yelling from the living room. Matt, you're up. Grab a partner. I turned around to see a guy with a clipboard standing next to a table filled with red Solo cups. Apparently, there was a beer pong tournament going on. Play beer pong? Matt asked, throwing his arm around my shoulders again and dragging me out to the middle of the living room with him. I haven't played since I was like 22, but I was an absolute killer at the game, I said. One game wouldn't hurt, right? Great, he said, approaching the table. Don't let me down. He winked at me and threw the first ball. He missed, and I rolled my eyes. Here, let me show you how it's done. I shot my ball and made it in. After a few back and forth shots, I made one in and the other team took the ball out, but they left the cup on the table. I let them shoot their next shots and turned to Matt to ask him what the house rules were on Death Cup. I could see the other team's eyes widen in panic. They had been on a 5-game winning streak, and I was about to destroy them with just one shot. Matt looked at me, raising a bushy eyebrow questioningly. Death Cup? You know, when you make a cup and the other team doesn't remove the cup, and then if you make it in, that's game. Don't touch the cup until a decision is made. I pointed to them without missing a beat or looking at them. The other team put their hands up in defense. Matt looked back and forth between the other team and me a few times, a smile slowly forming across his face. House rule says, he turned to face the other team. Death Cup is in play. He leaned over to me and added, you better not miss or I'm going to look like an idiot. I rolled my eyes again and shot. The living room was silent, and it all felt like slow motion. No pressure to make the cup, right? My shot made it straight into the Death Cup, and that was game. The living room cheered. Matt turned to me and high-fived me as I jumped in celebration. I guess I do pretty well under pressure. Elena came rushing up to me again. I told you to go get a drink and meet up with me again. Not kick some ass in beer pong, she said, laughing and congratulating me. Matt, you better be nice to her, she said, looking at Matt. Elena, you know I'm the nicest guy you know, he said to her with a smirk. She rolled her eyes and laughed at him as she walked away back to her group. I could see her walking over to Mike, her boyfriend. I had never met him in person either, and I was excited to. His streams were more my style. They cooked together and played games together and made everyone on their stream feel like a family. I looked around for Riley, assuming he would be annoyed at the moment. He was never one to have fun with me, but he was always okay with having fun and playing these kinds of games with his friends. I was sure he was giving me the death glare just about now. He wasn't anywhere to be seen in the living room. I shrugged and assumed he was outside smoking or in the bathroom and didn't think anything else of it. Love that we won. You're welcome, I said sassily, turning to Matt. But I cannot do an entire tournament of this though, so you'll have to find another partner. But can you take a 5-second break and show me where the bathroom is? Matt waved to the other team and told them they could keep going since he probably wasn't going to find another partner as good as me. I did a hair flip and smiled. There's a couple bathrooms down here, but you can just use the upstairs guest bathroom. I'm sure the ones down here are absolutely trashed, he said and motioned for me to walk in front of him back towards the staircase in the entryway. Let me guess, the bathroom is in a bedroom, I asked, playfully sighing. I looked back at him and he smiled slyly. Don't forget, I came here with my boyfriend, so don't try anything funny, I said and smacked him on the arm. He put his hands up in defense. I would never, I promise. He winked at me again. I smiled at him. Too big of a smile. I turned back to watch where I was walking and wiped that stupid smile off my face. This was a streamer that was not allowed to be watched around me because I absolutely hated him and everything about him. Why am I actually having a good time with him? That's enough of that. That's got to stop. Once we reached the staircase, I let him walk first since I had no idea where we were going. The guest room is just at the end of this hallway. He trailed off and stopped abruptly at the top step. I came up behind him and bumped into him, not paying attention to the fact he was standing still. Oof, sorry, I said and looked up at him. Then I looked to where his eyes were looking. My mouth dropped so far to the floor, I thought it would break through the floor. I could not believe what I was seeing. Isn't that, he started to say before getting quiet. His face was overcome with a look of shock. Yep, that was my boyfriend, with his tongue down some other girl's throat. I didn't know how to react. I stood there staring, mouth wide open, but then it turned into laughing. Oh my God, I can't. I kept laughing and that caught the attention of Riley. Brooke, this is not what it looks like. He pushed the girl off of him and started walking towards me. Please hear me out, he started to say. Matt put his hand out and stepped towards him. Bro, this is exactly what it looks like. Your girlfriend is downstairs by herself trying to make friends with people she doesn't know, and you're up here playing tonsil hockey with another girl. He turned towards the girl standing back in shock. Becca, what the hell were you thinking? The girl hurried over to me. I'm so sorry. I had no idea he had a girlfriend, I swear. She put her hands on my shoulders, clearly genuinely apologetic. I laughed and smiled sarcastically. Oh, I absolutely believe you. I don't exist around other girls. This is not your fault. I looked at Riley with a dumbfounded look. Here? Really? Come on, dude. I couldn't fathom what was happening right now, right in front of my own eyes, in front of these famous internet people who probably think I'm an idiot for being with a guy like this. I turned around to walk away, and that's when I noticed everybody. I mean, every single person that was in the living room was standing in the entryway, watching my life fall apart in the blink of an eye. And of course, they were streaming all of it, meaning this entire embarrassment of a situation is now on the internet for everyone to see right this second. Matt turned around and met my view. We both saw Elena running up the stairs to see what was going on. The formed crowd down below was murmuring. I could have passed out right then and there, but I held my composure as much as I could. Please tell me this is not what I think it is, she said as she made it up to the top step where we were. She glared at the two who were just making out before we got up there. I should go, Becca said, her words trailing off. She brushed past us down the stairs. She stopped and looked at me. I really am sorry. I swear I had no idea, she said and hugged me. I know you didn't. Trust me. I believe you. I hugged her back and pulled back and smiled at her, squeezing her arms before I let her go. Becca made her way down the stairs, pushing past the crowd to leave out the front door. I could hear a couple people ask what was going on. She looked back at all of us, not answering any of them, and opened the door and left. I nodded as Matt turned back to Elena. Can you get everyone out of here? He asked her. I put my hands on their arms. Wait, I really don't want to ruin the party. It's fine, really, I said, tears welling up in my eyes. No, I got this. Don't worry, Elena said as she turned around and headed back down the stairs. All right, people, nothing to see here, she said, motioning for her boyfriend Mike to help her get everyone back in the living room. I stood there silent, staring at Riley, anger and sadness filling up my body. I know he could see the rage in my eyes. I hoped he saw how everyone was looking at him. This was not going to be good for him, and I was almost glad everyone was there to witness what a horrible person he was. Scrambling to resolve the situation, Matt ushered me towards the guest room. The bathroom is in here. Take as long as you need, okay? I'll handle this, he said to me gently. He turned around and walked out the door and shut it behind him. I could hear him talking just loud enough for Riley to hear, but not loud enough for me to make out exactly what he was saying. I walked to the bathroom, standing in front of the mirror. I could feel my entire body shaking. I was sure this was going to be my mental break. I kneeled down next to the toilet, positive I was going to puke. Tears started streaming down my face. I can't go back out there. How the hell am I supposed to face all those people who just watched me get cheated on by one of the nerdiest guys out there? I tried to calm my breathing by taking deep breaths in and deep breaths out. My chest was so tight and I had no idea where my purse was with my anxiety meds. This was the least of my problems right now. I had to figure out how I would get home and what I was going to do about Riley. Well, I guess I already knew what I was going to do. This was my opportunity to leave. I can leave the relationship that has just brought me no joy for the last few years and learn to be on my own. I wouldn't have anyone judging me for every little thing I do or giving me anxiety about who they're texting now. I could just be myself and be free. I hear a soft knock on the bedroom door. Occupied, I said, barely loud enough for whoever was out there to hear. It's Matt. Can I come in? I heard Matt say, slightly opening the bedroom door. I came from around the corner of the bathroom, makeup streaking down my face. I knew I looked like an absolute disaster. I tried to wipe away as much as I could with the sleeve of my cardigan. He's gone, he said softly. I told him if he comes back, I'm calling the cops and having him arrested, so you shouldn't have to worry about him. At least, not tonight. I walked over to the bed that was in the middle of the room and sat down. That was so embarrassing, I muttered, sniffling. Please tell me you mean embarrassing for him and not you, because you literally have nothing to be embarrassed about. He stood in front of me and looked down at me, his eyes sad for me. I giggled a little. Well, I guess I won't answer that one since you probably won't like my answer. He kneeled down in front of me. Hey, he started gently, you have nothing to be embarrassed about. He's the one that made himself look like a complete idiot out there, especially with everyone knowing about how I feel about cheating. That's an absolute deal breaker for me in any kind of relationship, personal and professional. He stood up and sat next to me on the bed. My ex cheated on me multiple times. I stayed like an idiot, I know, but I finally vowed to myself that I would never let that happen again, to me or anyone I cared about. I looked at him sadly. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I had no idea. Wow, you're going to come to my party and not know who I am? He asked playfully. I laughed and lightly pushed his shoulder. Look, I didn't even want to come in the first place, but I didn't. I trailed off. Ugh, never mind. I just didn't want to come. He looked at me. You didn't trust him to come alone, did you? I looked down at my hands in my lap, fidgeting as I softly shook my head no. He's done this before? He asked me gently. I sniffled and wiped my nose. Yep, and I stayed like an idiot. I looked at him and smiled a little, alluding to him calling himself an idiot. I get it. It took me a long time to finally leave. It's hard leaving someone you love, someone you thought loved you. He looked down at his hands, now fidgeting too. Well, thanks for not judging me. Sorry. For the both of us, I said and lightly laughed. I pulled out my phone from my back pocket. I just need to get an Uber and a hotel and I'll be out of here as soon as possible. I'm so sorry if I ruined the party. He playfully snatched my phone out of my hands, holding it above his head. Oh, absolutely not. You're staying here as long as you need. He lowered his head to catch my eyes. Plus, this house gets really lonely after parties. It would be nice to have someone else here to make me feel less alone. He gave me a look as if to say I was doing him a favor too. Yeah, right, I laughed. I'm not putting that burden on you. Thanks, though, I said, reaching for my phone that was just out of my reach. He stood up with it, doing something that I couldn't see. Staying with a streamer I couldn't even stand listening to? I'd rather sleep on a park bench. It's not a suggestion. Stay here. Seriously, this room is open and clean and you can figure out whatever you need to do tomorrow. He looked into my eyes with seriousness. I hesitated, thinking about the drama I had just been through and bringing that on someone else. Silence is compliance, he said, breaking the silence. I'm going to go get some extra blankets and towels. I'll grab a couple of t-shirts and shorts or boxers or whatever for you to sleep in. He walked towards the door without giving me a chance to argue. You'll be fine. You'll be safe here and you're not going to have to worry about that douchebag anymore. And Becca is really sorry. She seriously had no idea. No, I know that. He's really good about making sure no one that doesn't know him thinks he doesn't have a girlfriend, I said. He nodded at me, gave me a sad look, and walked out of the room, closing the door behind him. I sat on the edge of the bed, still in shock. How could someone so obnoxious turn out to be so nice? Am I really about to stay with this guy I just met? Who am I? I got up and walked back into the bathroom, looking through the drawers to find any kind of face wash that could get this crusty makeup off my face. I knew there was no way I was going back down to that party anyway. Just as I was about to scrub my face with just water and my cardigan, I heard the door open again. Matt walked in and peeked around the corner into the bathroom. I turned around to look at him leaning back on the counter. Thank you for letting me stay, even though I really want to protest about it. I smiled at him. He walked towards me and set the towels and washcloths on the counter. Of course, it's no problem at all. He reached past me, opening up a drawer that was filled with skincare. Okay, there's no way that's all yours, I said and laughed. Do you have a secret girlfriend I should know about before staying the night? I joked. He jokingly glared at me. Elena always keeps extra skin stuff and hair stuff and girly things and whatever here for times like this. Oh, when you just save all of the damsels in distress? Do your parties always turn into a shit show? He stood up and looked down at me, staring into my eyes. Yes, but in a more fun way. You see how many girls are down there. She wants everyone to be comfortable here. He smiled playfully. By the way, the party was pretty much over anyways. No one wanted to keep going in beer pong. And believe it or not, we streamers really don't stay up that late and party that much. Honestly, I do find that very hard to believe, I laughed. I put my phone number in your phone when I took it from you. My room is right down the hallway. If you need anything at all, please don't hesitate to let me know, okay? He said, standing in the doorway of the bathroom. I nodded. Seriously, anything. I know you barely know me, and I barely know you, but I'm here for you. I smiled at him softly. Thank you, really, for everything. Matt smiled back. Of course. Good night, he said, walking to the bedroom door. He closed it behind him, and I stood still for a few minutes. I guess this is my home for the night. Might as well get comfortable. I changed into the clothes Matt had brought me and washed my face. I rolled down the covers on the bed and climbed in. The bed was comfier than I expected it to be. I grabbed my phone and turned it on Do Not Disturb. I'm sure Riley would be blowing up my phone at any minute, and I didn't want to be tempted to answer and give in to whatever apology he would try to give me. It wasn't going to work this time. Chapter 2. The next morning I rolled over, slowly opening my eyes, not quite sure of where I was at first. As soon as I realized it, my heart sank to my stomach. I was hoping that last night was all just a terrible dream and didn't actually happen. As I looked around the room, I came to the sad realization that everything did, in fact, happen. Everyone saw me get cheated on. I ruined the party. My life was over, and it was probably never going to be the same. I rolled back over, looking at the empty space next to me. I haven't been alone in the last 5 years. I haven't slept alone in 5 years. I'm pretty sure the only reason I was able to fall asleep last night was because of how exhausted I was from crying. I rubbed my hand over the area where Riley would have been. My eyes widened. Riley. Where was he? I assumed he went back to the hotel, but I must have slept through any sounds my phone made. Honestly, it was probably for the better anyways. One sweet text from him, and I ended up saying that last night wasn't that big of a deal. But it was. It was a huge deal that I was going to have to clean up now. I knew he wasn't going to take accountability for anything. He never did, and there's no way he was going to this time either. Maybe if he knew his livelihood depended on it, but even then, I didn't have high hopes for him. He still had another 2 days before he got home unless he was going to fly out early. We had planned on staying in the city for a few days and making a vacation out of it. We were really going to try to work on getting back to how we used to be before we both started our careers. We weren't living affluently, and we always made time for each other. Now I felt like I was the only one who was trying to set up date nights and fun things to do. This was going to give us the chance to hopefully reconnect because I guess that's what I thought I wanted. I knew there was no way a vacation could just fix us, but I really hoped it would help. There'd be no distractions. No work, no editing, no games. Just us and a nice cozy hotel room in a new town. I got up out of bed and looked out the window to the balcony. It overlooked Matt's giant backyard. There was a massive pool with a waterfall, a hot tub, a fire pit, and a grill area. Just the backyard alone was bigger than my own apartment, or mine and Riley's apartment. Was it even our apartment anymore? God knows I'm probably not ever going back there. At least, I hope I find the strength not to go back. I could feel my anxiety overcoming my body. I tried to think about other things to calm myself down. How fun beer pong was, how nice everyone was last night, how I thought Matt was going to be the douchiest guy I had ever met, but turns out he's not so bad. Absolutely anything to make my negative thoughts go away. Nothing was helping. All I could think about is Riley making out with that other streamer last night. I had seen plenty of text messages in the past and made up my own images in my head over time, but I never actually seen it in person. It's like seeing it in person is just as terrible as the things you imagine in your own head, especially with tons of people watching. I made my way to the bathroom and hopped in the shower. As the hot, steamy water fell down my whole body, all I could think about was last night. I shook my head, trying to shake off the negative energy I was giving myself. I wanted to remind myself that this is a good thing. I knew deep down I was waiting for something like this to happen again so I could leave. As bad as it sounded, I knew something like this would happen again and it would be my way out. I just didn't think it would happen so publicly. Riley and I had talked about marriage and even gone to look at engagement rings together. It had been almost 2 years since he made his promise to me that he would change. And he did, as far as I knew. No more Snapchat, no more messaging random girls on social media, and no more secret meetups with girls. After forgiving him and moving on, I knew I wasn't going to be able to forget all the pain and hurt that he caused me. There was still some doubt in my mind that he would do it again. And would you look at that? Unfortunately, I was right. Or I guess maybe fortunately. Even though I was given the sign I was looking for, it still felt so wrong. I feel like maybe I had mentally moved on, so that way when he did eventually mess up, it wouldn't hurt as much. But it hurts just as much as it did the first time. And I'm not perfect by any means. There were definitely times that I'd be out at the bar with my girlfriends and I'd let guys hit on me for a free drink. But the difference there is I wasn't interested in any of them. I just wanted a free drink. I had no intention of getting in their bed and sleeping with them just because. I just don't understand how you do that to someone you love. I stepped out of the shower and grabbed one of the towels Matt left for me on the counter. I opened up the drawer to grab some of Elena's skincare, which was almost everything I had at home. I cringed thinking about home, a place I'll probably never see again. I sighed as I put on the serum and moisturizer. I stood there looking at myself in the mirror. Even though I'd felt like I scrubbed my face a million times, I still had leftover mascara under my eyes. My eye bags were bigger than a suitcase, and my eyes were dark. As I looked at myself, I couldn't help but feel stupid for letting this happen. I should have just stayed by his side and not ventured off. What if this had something to do with playing beer pong with Matt? Riley had a tendency to accuse me of flirting with guys or cheating on him. After learning about his problem, I realized he was just projecting on me. That doesn't make me feel any less like this could have been my fault. If I had just followed him around like a lost puppy dog, I'm sure he would have been annoyed, but at least I wouldn't be here in this weird situation now. Everyone's lives would be normal. I returned to the bed, plopped down in my towel, and opened my phone. I had about 30 missed calls and texts from Riley asking if I was coming back to the hotel or even going back home with him. I locked my phone and set it on the nightstand and changed into another t-shirt and a pair of boxers from Matt. I never fit into any of Riley's t-shirts. I wasn't big by any means, but he was literally the size of a spaghetti noodle, which made his cheating on me even more embarrassing. Who gets cheated on by a spaghetti noodle boy? Matt's t-shirts fit perfectly oversized, covering my butt almost down to my mid-thigh. Matt was bigger than Riley, and I mean that in a good way. He was buff. I'm usually not into buff guys, but I stopped myself. There are no buts. I'm not into buff guys, and I'm not into Matt. What was I trying to get at there? I shivered trying to get Matt's image out of my head. He was just being a nice guy, and I needed to remember that. I'm a little vulnerable right now. I'm sure that's why I'm contemplating on why I'm feeling this way. I think. After changing, I walked out to the balcony, unable to hold back my tears anymore. I felt stupid for letting them fall, knowing he didn't deserve me crying over him. I got myself into this, and I couldn't blame anyone except for myself. I had a plethora of chances to leave. Because I chose to stay, now the whole world knows what an idiot he is. And what an idiot I am. I hated how hard I was on myself when it came to him cheating. I know it wasn't my fault that he did it, but he sure tried his best to make me feel like it was. I knew I didn't deserve spending all of my days wondering what he was doing on his phone or if he was actually working late. No one deserves feeling like that. Nice view, isn't it? I gasped as I heard a voice come from behind me. I turned to see Matt leaning in the doorway leading out to the balcony. Oh shit, I'm so sorry. I didn't know you were. He stepped forward almost as if to reach out and hug me. He stopped himself. I could see the look in his eyes like he wanted to comfort me, but he didn't want to make me feel uncomfortable. I wiped the tears from my face with my hand and sniffled. No, it's fine. It's your house anyways. I laughed a little to lighten the mood. Matt stepped closer to me. It's your house too now, for however long you need. He sat on the small couch that occupied part of the balcony. Look, you're clearly not one to ask for help when you need it, so... He looked up at me, his blue eyes bright in the sunlight. My jaw dropped. I don't need help. He laughed at me. That's exactly what I meant by that. I closed my mouth and glared at him. He barely knew me, but apparently he could read me like an open book since I really don't ask for help. Okay, fine. You're right about that one. I laughed. I just need to find a flight home and hell no, don't you guys live together? He asked before I could even finish my sentence. I looked down at my hands. Well, yeah, but I have to go home at some point. No, you really don't. He reached out his hand and placed it on my bare knee, his hand warm. Sorry, he said and pulled his hand away. I hid my disappointed expression and was sad he pulled away. His touch felt electric. Wait, what? I literally just got cheated on last night, and this guy is not my type. He was right to pull his hand away. I didn't need him getting the wrong idea about me. Everything I have is at home. My work, my car, my life. I trailed off, still looking down at my hands, thinking about everything I would be leaving behind. He placed his hands on my hand that were in my lap. It's okay. We'll figure it out, he said softly. You know the second you walk back into that house, he's going to try to convince you to stay. And having been through this before, both of us, I can't let you do that. I can't let you continue living your life with someone that doesn't appreciate you and see your value. That's not fair to you. You don't deserve that. I could feel him staring at me, waiting for me to look up and agree with him. I met his eyes eventually. I could feel the genuineness coming from his voice. I felt like in his presence, I didn't need to have this wall up that I've had for so long to save myself from getting hurt. Again. You're right. Okay, I'll stay, I finally said very softly. Only for a little bit, I said sternly. His face lit up. Great, this is your room, your balcony, your home. Got it? He smiled at me, waiting for me to respond. Yeah, okay, whatever you say, I said playfully. You're damn right, whatever I say. He removed his hands from mine and stood up. And that is where we are ending the video today. I'm sure you're curious since I didn't say it at the beginning of the video. What is this story in case you want to continue reading it? That was the first chapter and a half of my new book, stream starting soon. As of posting this, it will be available on Kindle, and I will also get it up on Apple Books as well. I'm still tweaking with the paperback copies, but they will be out eventually. Available on Amazon, and I'm so excited for you guys to read it. If you guys want a way to support this channel, this is the best way. Honestly, I really don't make much money off of this, but I have just really wanted to share my stories with the world, but I've always been too scared, which is why I released this under a different name than my own. But depending on how this one goes, future books will be published under my name. So next week we'll be starting I keep wanting to call it Unhinged. Next week, we'll be starting the Unchained Colby Brock fanfiction series. And if you made it to the end of today's video, thank you so much for listening. I so appreciate it. I hope you enjoyed it. Leave a comment down below. Let me know what you guys think of the first chapter and a half of my book. Let me know if you guys are going to read it. If you have Kindle Unlimited, it is part of Kindle Unlimited, so you can also read it for free. And that is all I have today for you guys. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next week.